8 Mile, Get Rich or Die Trying. Two very similar movies. Who's gonna win? Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary, gender fluid, and everybody else in between, welcome to Box Office Battles. A show where we pit two similar movies together, head-to-head, one-on-one, baby, and see who comes out on top. Today's episode, two semi-biographical rap movies about two rappers trying to make it, one being Eminem and one being 50 Cent. Let's get into it. In this fight, we have 3 rounds. The first round is plot. We're going to analyze the catalyst of the story and see how it flows. The second round is of the players, who makes up the story and who the villains are. And the final bloody round is of audience reception, box office numbers, and legacy. A great way to end the fight. And stay tuned. I even asked some of my creator friends what they think of both movies. All right, Joey C, let's stop playing around. Roll this crazy train down the track, baby. 8 Mile released on November 8th, 2002, and Get Rich or Die Trying released on November 9th, 2005. Both movies follow two main characters who are living in poor neighborhoods ridden with crime and drugs. 8 Mile being set in Detroit, and Get Rich or Die Trying in New York. Each star finds rap music as an outlet and a way out of their current lives. Let's get into what happens in both installments. Starting with 8 Mile, I loved this movie as a kid, but I didn't discover it until I was around 14 or 15. Back then, I was really into rap, and I was a massive Eminem fan. I was even a rapper, if that shocks anybody. Here's one of my songs.
Counting every stack while I'm polishing my plaque. If I wanna be in top, then I can never ever slack. Back in the day when I was so depressed, could barely stand up to get myself dressed.
Alrighty, enough of that. We're gonna forget that ever happened. I told myself I'd never ever tell anybody that secret, but here we are. If you dig deep enough on the internet, you can probably find it, but most of it's been scrubbed. Let's move on. The plot is as follows. In 1995, we see Jimmy Smith Jr., aka B Rabbit, who is an aspiring rapper that lives in a rundown trailer park on 8 Mile Road in Detroit, Michigan. His mother is an alcoholic, and his younger sister is basically a toddler. He also lives with his mother's abusive boyfriend, Greg, who is the same age as B Rabbit. Awkward. We find him at a local hip-hop shelter that hosts rap battles hosted by one of his best friends, Future. He is encouraged to join the rap battles, but he gets on stage ready to perform and he chokes and runs away from embarrassment. I would too, bud. We see my man working at a car factory and is desperate for money. We see him asking his boss for extra shifts, but gets dismissed quickly. Back at home, we find out that his mom is getting evicted out of their trailer, to which she was trying to hide in hopes that her goofball boyfriend would buy them a home from a settlement check he was getting. We see Jimmy is friends with his neighbor Wink, who has ties to a record label promoter, and he promises to hook Jimmy up with an opportunity when the time is right. But there's only one problem. Wink is a member of a rival gang, the Free World, the same group that saw him choke at the rap battle. At one point, Jimmy and his crew get into a violent brawl with the Free World, and Cheddar Bob, Jimmy's friend, pulls out a gun and accidentally shoots himself in the dick. Ouch. But he lives. While all this craziness is going on in the movie, Jimmy meets a new girl at work named Alex, and she keeps popping up here and there, so you know this is going to be the romantic interest of the movie. During one of his lunch breaks, Jimmy and his coworkers get into like a little rap battle around a lunch truck. Jimmy destroys them, which raises his rapping confidence. And Alex, the love interest, is conveniently watching from the side. She falls in love basically with B Rabbit, and then they go and sneak off and have sex in the dirty factory. Very romantic. Back at home, Greg finds out that his mom is getting evicted and absolutely flips out, and then Jimmy and Greg end up getting into a violent fight, which leads to Greg leaving Jimmy's mom for good. Jimmy's mom accuses Jimmy of ruining her life and kicks her son out of the trailer. Later on that day, Wink arranges for Jimmy to meet with a record producer at a studio, but he ends up finding Wink and Alex having sex. Of course, this enrages Jimmy, and Jimmy attacks Wink. In retaliation, Wink and the rest of the Free World group find Jimmy at the trailer park and attack Jimmy violently. The leader, Papa Doc, pulls out a gun and threatens to unalive Jimmy, but Wink stops it and they drive away. Jimmy ends up on the porch of his mom's house to where she invites him back inside and reveals that she won $3,200 at bingo, and they make up. That's a pretty good win. Future encourages Jimmy to get revenge on the Free World by competing against them in the rap battle. After some thought, he agrees. The same day, Jimmy's boss comes up to Jimmy at work and offers him an overtime shift because he's doing very well at work. And he can't decline it even though the rap battle is happening the same night. And then Alex shows up to work and says goodbye to Jimmy because she's moving to New York to be a model, but doesn't even apologize for fucking his friend. Good riddance. Walking back into work, Jimmy decides he needs to show up to the battle, so he gets a coworker to cover his shift. At the rap battle, Jimmy has to compete against a member of the Free World in each round. He easily wins the first 2 rounds against Lotto and Lickety Split. Kills them is more like it. The final round is the defending rap championship Papa Doc, the leader of the Free World. Jimmy wins the coin toss and decides to go first in the final round. He starts rapping about himself, using all the insults that the Free World could possibly use against him. And then he starts rapping about how Papa Doc went to a private school, has a good family life, how he isn't a real gangster, etc. This leaves Papa Doc so embarrassed, and he has nothing to say and gives Jimmy the mic, and Jimmy wins! The crowd goes wild! After celebrating his championship victory, Jimmy decides he's gonna pursue rap as a full-time career. That's his dream, man. But in the time being, he decides to go back to work to finish his overtime shift. Wow, what a story. Let's take a look at Get Rich or Die Trying and see what happens. The movie opens up with a very young Marcus, a quiet boy who adores his mother. They live a reasonably comfortable life in New York City thanks to his mom's drug-dealing income. We find out that little Marcus is a rapper and he writes a rap love song about his neighbor, but then the neighbor's stepfather finds out about the rap love song and sends her away to live with her grandparents. That seems a little extreme, but alright. We then find out that Marcus's mom gets murdered, and Marcus moves in with his grandparents full time. Marcus gets taken in by the local drug kingpin, Majestic, and starts dealing drugs at the age of 12, and ends up leaving school. Years later, we see Marcus as a dangerous drug dealer and gangster. He eventually runs back into his old neighbor love interest, Charlene, and they reconnect to say the least. One of Marcus's crew members, Antoine, gets shot by a rival gang member. In retaliation, Marcus decides that he's gonna go attack the rival gang member. He ends up shooting him in the leg just like they did to Antoine. But then he gets arrested, but for some reason the gang member doesn't tell the police it was him, presumably to kill him later. My battery's about to die, hang on. However, cops raid his house and they find guns and drugs, and Marcus is sent to prison, where he befriends another inmate, Bama. While this is happening, Majestic, the drug kingpin, makes his move to take control over the local drug trade, and sets up the boss of the family to go to prison, and then frames somebody else for it. Majestic is now in charge, which is not too good because he's always been jealous of Marcus. After Bama and Marcus get out of prison, Bama convinces Marcus to leave the drug trade and fulfill his lifelong dream of being a rapper, with Bama as his manager. Majestic offers Marcus a position as his right-hand man in the drug trade. Marcus declines and tells him that he wants to be a rapper. Majestic was not very happy to hear this. Bama, Marcus, and Marcus's old crew member, Justice, head home to start recording music. Things get sketchy because Justice still works for Majestic, and Bama and Justice have a clash of personalities. Unconvinced of Marcus's dreams, Justice tells Majestic of their rap activities, and Majestic uses threats and his power to stop Marcus's growing success. Marcus retaliates by dissing Majestic in one of his songs, and now Majestic has Marcus marked for death. That is a lot of M's. Bama and Marcus go back to carry out one more robbery to fund their music ventures. After the robbery, Marcus is walking inside his house and he is approached by Justice in a mask who shoots him multiple times but is saved by his grandparents. Majestic finds out that Justice didn't kill Marcus, so Majestic ends up killing Justice. At Marcus's debut concert, Majestic and his crew show up and start to intimidate Marcus as he goes on stage. Majestic reveals that he's the one who killed Marcus's mother all those years ago. Marcus then attacks Majestic, but before he can kill Majestic, Bama persuades him to start the show and think about his family. With one last attempt to kill Marcus, Majestic tries to stab him, but Bama shoots him. Marcus then goes out on stage, removes his bulletproof vest, and proceeds to have a wonderful kick-ass rap performance. A happy, murderous ending indeed. Boy, these movies are very different, but share very similar themes and vibes. Let's get into the results and see who won round one. Comparing the two is very tough, per usual. Both movies have very similar plots. A beaten and run-down guy wants to get out of his current situation and achieve his lifelong dream of being a rapper. One happens to be a white guy from Detroit, and the other is a black guy from New York City. Both deal in the world of crime, some more than others, but regardless, their goal is to get out of that lifestyle. In the end, both main characters, Jimmy and Marcus, achieve their dream of being a rapper. In 8 Mile, Jimmy wins the rap battle, and in Get Rich or Die Trying, Marcus basically becomes a famous rapper. Both are underdog movies. I think the emotional roller coaster that you go through in Get Rich or Die Trying goes a lot deeper than 8 Mile. Sure, 8 Mile you deal with themes like broken home life, poverty, love affairs, etc. But Get Rich or Die Trying, you're dealing with the death of your mother. You're dealing with drug dealing, shootings, death, murder. The list goes on and on. The plot is way deeper in Get Rich or Die Trying and really affected me emotionally way more than it did in 8 Mile, specifically because the crime and the violence was so hardcore. There was a lot more at stake with Get Rich or Die Trying. Not to say 8 Mile wasn't deep, but all Jimmy wanted to do was win the rap battle and make a little money for his family. Marcus had to survive the death of his mother and dealing with the man who basically raised him on the streets being the one who killed his mother. And he got shot 9 times and survived, and Majestic threatening Marcus's girlfriend and child. I think it's pretty clear that Get Rich or Die Trying wins round 1 in a landslide. You can't compare the two stories. Actually, you can, because we just did. All right, before we get into round 2, the players, let's take a break and hear from our sponsors. Folks, what's happening? How are you? Good. We're going to stop the video for just a quick moment here. If you want to support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/officialjoeyc for all your exclusive Joey C needs, exclusive check-in videos, behind-the-scenes videos, gameplay videos. The list goes on and on. You would not believe the stuff that's up there. And if you don't want to go to Patreon, you can become a YouTube channel member for the same perks and price of Patreon. Thank you to all my channel supporters on Patreon and YouTube. I greatly appreciate that. All right, Joey C, enough plugging, and let's get chugging. Back to the video. Let's discuss the players of 8 Mile. Of course, playing the main character, Jimmy Smith, aka B-Rabbit, we have Marshall Mathers, aka the legend himself, Eminem, one of the greatest lyricists and rappers that the world has ever known. Usually when musicians like this transfer to acting, it can get pretty bad, as I'm sure we've all seen in 2012's classic Mac and Devin Go to High School with Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa. Wow. Eminem does a fantastic job here, and I truly think it's because this is a semi-biographical movie about his life coming up in Detroit, so it probably came pretty natural to him. Playing the love interest Alex, we have the late and the great Brittany Murphy, who died in 2009 at the very young age of 32. She was a brilliant actor, and her death sent shockwaves throughout Hollywood. She played the part of a poor woman from Detroit who also had big dreams quite well, and she looked the part. Man, she was beautiful. Playing the main villain, Papa Doc, we have the Marvel legend Anthony Mackie, also of Twisted Metal fame. Awesome show, by the way. As a teen, I hated him. Rewatching it nowadays, I also hated him. He makes a great villain, and watching him get defeated at the end was very satisfying. This movie is loaded with a bunch of notable side characters, like the rapper Exhibit playing a factory worker, and he rocks. I love his music. We also have Vicky Vale herself, Kim Basinger, playing Jimmy's mom. She came across as a wonderful alcoholic and somewhat bad mom. No offense. Also, researching this movie, I found out that the actor who played Lotto in the movie, Nashawn Breedlove, died in 2023. Rest in peace, King. Moving on to Get Rich or Die Trying, playing the lead role Marcus, we have another legendary rapper, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent himself, one of my all-time favorite rappers and one of the best rappers of the early 2000s. 50 Cent has been in a lot of movies, and from what I understand, most of them are horrible. I haven't watched them, so form your own opinion. I have no idea if that's true or not, but I do think he did a fantastic job in this movie, just like Eminem, specifically because he relates to the character so much, because it's semi-biographical. It comes natural. He's just playing a younger version of himself. His history as an actual rapper and ex-drug dealer gave him natural ability to play the part, and I honestly really enjoyed it. Playing as manager-producer, we have Terrence Howard, who played in his own rapper movie from 2005, Hustle and Flow, which is another incredible rap movie. His legacy has strained a bit over the last couple of years, based on some outlandish statements that he made about science, but that does not take away that he did a wonderful job being a companion and support system for 50 Cent in this movie. A great sidekick character. Playing the main villain of the movie, Majestic, we have, and I don't even know how we're gonna pronounce this, I'll put it on screen, Ad E Wale Akinoi Agbaje. I butchered that, and I'm really, really sorry about that. I know him as playing Lockna in The Mummy Returns, where he also plays a villain, so he is forever a villain for me. He played the kingpin of the neighborhood wonderfully, and when he took over the block as the new Godfather, he was menacing, dangerous, and scary. But by the end of the movie, he dies a coward. Good riddance. This guy rocks. Two notable shout-outs. We have Omar Benson Miller, who actually plays a crew member in both movies that we're talking about here, so that's pretty good. Also, we have Mark John Jeffries, who plays a younger version of Marcus in the beginning of the movie. He plays Michael in the 2003 classic Haunted Mansion, best movie ever, which I just covered. You should check that out. What a classic. Let's tally this up and see who wins round two. The players. In terms of star power alone, I think it's pretty clear that 8 Mile has the advantage. Get Rich or Die Trying doesn't have any crazy powerhouses. 8 Mile has Brittany Murphy, Kim Basinger, Exhibit, Anthony Mackie, the list goes on. And in terms of comparing Jimmy Smith, Eminem, and Marcus, 50 Cent, that's a tough one. To me, the better actor throughout the movie is Eminem, specifically because he shows a range of emotions. 50 Cent, however, is very bland throughout the movie. That's not to say he's a bad actor by any means, but he does not show any fucking emotions. Now, admittedly, that might be part of the character because they do say throughout the movie, like, don't show emotions because it shows weakness, but still, even when he gets shot and he's depressed in the bed and his mother dies, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's stone-faced, man. Good Lord. So round two, the players, is absolutely going to 8 Mile, baby. 1-1. Going into the third and final bloody round of this brutal battle. We're all tied up here, man. 1 to Get Rich or Die Trying and 1 to 8 Mile. This round, we're going to look at audience reception, box office numbers, and legacy. Let's go. 8 Mile was distributed by Universal Pictures in 2002 and was made on a $41 million budget. It went on to make $242 million at the box office, which is a wildly successful movie. And it opened up with $51 million on its opening weekend, which was then the second highest opening for an R-rated movie in the US after Hannibal. It held that record until 2024. Taking a look at the Rotten Tomato numbers, we see that it has a 76% on the tomato meter and a 54% on the audience score, which is now the popcorn meter. Most of the critic reviews are positive, indicating that it was generally favorable. Most reviews commenting on Eminem's raw talent and magic on screen. Moving on to Get Rich or Die Trying, it was released 3 years later in 2005, distributed by Paramount Pictures. It was made on a similar $40 million budget, but shockingly, it only made $46 million at the box office. After marketing costs, it's absolutely considered a huge failure. Ouch. It does not get much better for this movie. In fact, it gets much worse. Taking a look at the Rotten Tomato scores, we see it has a 17% on the tomato meter, but surprisingly, it has a 70% on the popcorn meter audience score, which tells me basically one thing. When it first came out, the critics ripped it apart and people hated it, but people now look back at it more fondly because the audience score is much higher. Most of the critics said this movie was too similar to many other rags to riches stories to connect with the audience, which I guess I could see where they're coming from. Another criticism was that the movie was clearly just a vehicle for 50 Cent rather than trying to be a good movie, which I can absolutely understand that. It's clear that the legacy is much more highly regarded than when it first came out. Before we get into the final results of this episode of Box Office Battles, let's hear from some of my creator friends on what they think of both movies. All right, roll the tape.
Joey, I watched both movies, and I have to say, there were some similarities.
So we've been tasked by Joey to talk about two movies, so let's talk about two movies, all right?
You know, they were both shot on cameras. They both had actors.
Movie 1 had some amazing characters. The way they handled their situations were amazingly well done.
So my biggest problem was, compared to one to two, movie 1 to movie 2, is movie 2 or movie 1 at least you get some brief instances of some risque content,
And there were some differences. One movie was written by one person, and another movie was written by another person.
They're too much a bunch of pussies to just show pussy in the movie. It's right there.
I just think it's supposed to be made for the kids. I think they wanted the kids to watch this movie, and so they had to tone it down. And movie 2 was like, let's do this way. Movie 1's like, no, it's for the kids.
I have to give it to movie 1 for having a really good soundtrack, but movie 2 had amazing set designs, right? So there's you can't beat that, but movie 1 just pulls you in with the dialogue, but there are things that movie 2 do add to the mix, like the cinematography, the way it was shot, you can't forget all that stuff. Classic.
For my money, I say movie number 1 is better than movie number 2, both of which I've seen and have a very strong opinion on.
And I think I have to say that movie 2 is definitely better than movie 1. That doesn't take away from movie 1.
Maybe that was the idea. It's just, I just don't like it. And the director sucks ass too.
Wait, we were supposed to watch movies?
What?
Huh?
Who could forget that part in movie 1? But it's just not as good as that other part in movie 2, and I think we could all agree that I am right. Okay. There you go. There's the Tony from Hack Movies cameo bit.
Putting my own personal bias aside of liking Eminem's music more than I like 50 Cent's music, I think the winner of this episode of Box Office Battles is, drumroll please, 8 Mile. Get Rich or Die Trying pulled ahead in the plot round, and 8 Mile tied things up in the players round. But 8 Mile came out on top in the legacy round. The box office numbers and legacy is really what allowed 8 Mile to dominate and win the battle. It's undeniable. Although both movies have a sort of cult status nowadays, the evidence is there, especially with 8 Mile making $200 million more at the box office, and in my opinion is spoken way more often about than Get Rich or Die Trying. In fact, a few people I brought this video up to forgot that Get Rich or Die Trying was even a movie, but everybody remembered 8 Mile. Please watch both movies yourself and form your opinion, because genuinely they're both fantastic movies and I think you would enjoy them, and try to enjoy them for what they are, not for what you think they are. Folks, Thank you so much for watching this wonderful episode of Box Office Battles. I love doing these videos. They take a while, but you know what? Boy, are they fun. Because I gotta tell you, I love movies. And I love talking about movies. And I especially love talking about early 2000s movies. Those are my favorite, man. The movies that people say, oh, that movie sucks. Those are my favorite ones to talk about, man. Although I don't know if anybody would ever say 8 Mile sucks. If you think 8 Mile sucks, let me know in the comments below. If you agree with this battle here or disagree, let me know in the comments below. Join my Discord. You can follow me on all social medias. You know where to find me, man. I'm not going to plug the Patreon or YouTube channel membership because I already did that. If you want to follow me on Twitch because we do live streams, you can go to twitch.tv/officialjoeyc for all your exclusive Joey C needs. Good Lord, folks. Thanks for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Keep your eye out for the next video, episode, movie, live stream. Whatever it is, man, listen. Cherish the precious moments. Be loved. And stay, dude. I'm out of here. Turn the green screen off. Good Lord. Oh, God, man. I am like kind of sweating a little bit and I'm a bit hungry. I just woke up, so I actually need to go eat. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So just have a good day, man. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.